Gentlemen, excellent to be back with you on MGTOW Money. Today's topic, Happy Non-Father's Day. Before we get to that, thanks go to the ongoing support from the Patreon investors in this channel. And thanks to you guys who bought me a cup of coffee via PayPal and Bitcoin based upon the last video. Men, see the video description today. Become a supporter of this channel now. And before I get into today's topic, if you're getting any background noise, I'm recording this in a hotel in Madrid, and there might be some background noise from the street and room cleaning, etc. nearby. All right, on to today's topic, Happy Non-Father's Day. This is the third Father's Day video that I have done. And specifically, I want to be calling out to my fellow men who are not fathers. Now, I recognize, and I've done this in the past, the most persecuted minority in the Western world are fathers. They are absolutely persecuted. However, I want to reach out to my MGTOW brothers who are not fathers and have chosen not to be fathers. Speaking as a man who is in his early 50s, who has chosen not to be a father. And of course, this is a tradcon's worst nightmare, as I'm going to be discussing in just a second. I have chosen not to be a father. And specifically, I want to be talking about, contrary to the tradcon's wet dream of we're all supposed to get married, have lots of kids, and we're all supposed to live like the Waltons. I know I'm dating myself, but the television show of the Waltons, and have this wonderful, blissful life. Instead, I believe that we, as MGTOW, in particular those men that choose not to have children, can have a fantastic life. So despite what I perceive as being a real resurgence or insurgence of tradcon ideas, for example, I just stumbled across a podcast the other day where a guy who I deeply respect was talking about, I'm paraphrasing just slightly, the only pathway to adulthood is having children. And his children were his best friends. And the only way, the guest on his show was talking about the only way that a person could really leave a legacy was having children. And that this was required for the advancement of civilization to have children. Okay, those are all great arguments. I've dealt with those in the past in prior videos, etc. I can only speak from my own personal experience. Again, you don't need to do any of those things, men, to have a great life, to leave a legacy, to quote unquote become an adult. You don't need to do any of those things. Furthermore, I'm going to give you 3 specific things that you are going to lose. You are going to possibly regret about having children. 1, you will lose your freedom. Now, let me be specific. This is a factual statement. You, of course, by choosing to have children, will no longer have your life. It'll be sort of our life. It'll be your family's life. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. I am in no way, shape, or form denigrating men who choose to have families, who choose to have children. I think that's a wonderful choice if you want to go down that path, that route, etc. However, I think that all men, especially young men, need to recognize that there are trade-offs. Period. You will lose a degree of freedom. You will be negatively impacted in terms of your ability to make decisions. You will not, for example, be able to simply say, oh, I think I'll quit this job and hang out for the next 6 months and travel the world, etc. Because, of course, you will have family obligations. Again, you will no longer be an autonomous individual. Instead, you will need to think about your life in terms of the context of being in a family. Furthermore, you need to perceive children, any children, whether it be one child or many children, as being free agents. In theory, of course, you're going to have this wonderful, happy family. Your children are going to turn out great, and they're going to be all Einsteins, and they're going to be tremendous people, and they're going to be tremendous contributors to society, etc. And and for every evil person that's ever walked the face of the earth, guess what? Their parents had the same expectations of them. They too thought this person is going to be a tremendous person, a contributor to society, and is going to end up making me so proud and happy, etc. However, guess what? You don't know if that's going to be the case. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have children just because you're not sure how they're going to turn out, but you simply need to be aware that your children are free-thinking individuals. You don't know if your kid's going to turn out to be a drug addict, a convict. Who knows what other types of things he might be involved in. I'm not saying this is going to happen to all. I'm only saying, though, and furthermore, I should say, I recognize this only happens to a very small percentage, but you simply need to recognize you don't know the future. Yes, again, you can have a theory that you're going to have this wonderful family, and they correspondingly, of course, are going to produce grandchildren, etc., and they'll, of course, hang around you as you grow old, and you'll all be happy together in theory. And while that sounds great in theory, and everything sounds great in theory, but especially today, it's highly unlikely that you are going to end up with some sort of blissful, Walton's-like, multi-generational family environment and thinking, oh, I'm so happy I did this, and you'll slowly pass away into the night and be remembered for generations to come. It is extremely unlikely. Let me finish with the big one. Achieving FU money is going to be extremely unlikely if you choose to have children. I did not say impossible. I just said unlikely. In other words, you will significantly reduce the odds that you are going to achieve FU money. Specifically, if you want FU money to do what you want, with whom you want, where you want, if that is your primary goal in life, you are going to significantly reduce the chances. It is going to be much, much harder. You're going to be climbing Mount Everest with a pair of flip-flops and shorts on if you choose to have children, if that is really your goal to achieve FU money at a relatively young age. Men, I am not saying, again, that you can't do it. It's just far, far more difficult, especially if you're hoping to do it by the time you get into your 40s, as I presume that many of you are. Children do seriously cost you significantly amounts of money, and furthermore, of course, as I was alluding to, it will seriously impact your decision-making ability. So, for example, if you've got this idea, hey, look, if I take a new job across the country, I could significantly increase my income. Oh, that's right. Oh, man, I hate to take my kids out of school, or there's some other family issue, etc., that you're dealing with, and so on. Again, significantly negatively impacting your ability to increase money. Or another idea, let's say you want to start a business. Well, of course, do you have family obligations? If so, you're going to be significantly less likely to try to start a new business because you're going to be concerned, how am I going to support my family if I'm trying to start this new business and I don't have any cash flow coming in, versus if you're an autonomous individual, if you're living alone, if you're living a MGTOW lifestyle, you're going to be much more likely and have greater ability to take those sort of risks. Let me summarize by saying every day should be Father's Day. Every day men should be celebrated that choose to have children. I am all for supporting men that choose to have children. I also, though, recognize not all of us, not all men necessarily want to have children. And we too should be accepted by our choices and in no way denigrated, in no way shamed, or in no way told that we're doing something wrong or contrary or whatever. In life, men, there are always trade-offs, period. Every human action has some sort of trade-off. Quoting the economist Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. Men, you've got to recognize if you do choose to have children, just make sure you're aware you will lose a certain degree of freedom. Your children are free agents. Frankly, you don't know how they're going to turn out. And 3, your chances of achieving FU money in a realistic time frame at a relatively young age are going to be far more difficult. If you're willing to accept those trade-offs, so be it. Go forward, my brother. Do what you need to do with your life. Do what you think is best for your life. But I'm going to finish by saying the following, men. I learned this a long time ago. I'm a really bad forecaster, and you probably are as well. You probably don't know exactly what's going to make you happy. It's a lot easier, men, to know what makes you unhappy, that you want to avoid, than what's going to make you happy. So my point being is, men, before you choose to have children, I want you to think very carefully, What do you not want in your life? What are you trying to avoid? Because those are actually the things that you need to be focused on removing from your life and avoiding to get you to the rich life that you deserve. Gentlemen, as always, hit the like button if you found this profitable. John Galt, out.